This is AM 1220, KTLV, Midwest City, Oklahoma City.
The views and opinions expressed and the products endorsed of this program are not endorsed by KTLV. Good morning, Oklahoma City, and welcome to the Clara Luper Show. In a moment, your host, Sister Clara Luper.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a happy good morning to you wherever you are. This is the Clara Luper Radio Show, and today's show is being brought to you by your independent Allstate agent, Marilyn Hildred. If you are even thinking, if you are even wondering how to do it, if it's insurance, call Marilyn 843-0811. Maryland writes automobile insurance, life insurance. Call it and she'll write it. You may call her at 843-0811. Today is a very special day because we are alive. Some ununderstandable things have happened since we last met. Today, our nation mourns for two policemen that were shot to death in the capital of the United States. And today, we extend our entire sympathy not only to the families, but to all of those that believe that a man and a woman and a child, all of them have rights to be protected. The President of the United States spoke very tearfully a few minutes ago. And he explained to us how much we owe to these men that gave their lives to save others. And as we reflect on Washington, D.C., and as we reflect on the needless killings here in Oklahoma City, what can we do? We've got to do something. We've got to rededicate ourselves to the principles of nonviolence. We've got to do it. Because no man is an island. No man lives alone. Whatever happens to one eventually happens to all of us. Clara Luper reporting. This is August, and this is a very special month. And when I say August, I mean August is coming up on the 1st. But this is a month that the sit-inners look back on their own history. What is history anyway? It's the story of a people. Sometimes the story is written in books, in magazines, in newspapers. Then sometimes it's passed on from generation to generation by word or mouth. And sometimes there's a building, but always it's wrapped up in the memories. And this morning, the purpose of this program shall be to help you to understand the vision of the sit-inners, to help you to understand the sit-ins, lest you suffer from historical amnesia and will not remember. We are going to talk to people that lived through the period. But we are also going to remind you that since 1958, the NAACP Youth Council has celebrated the beginning of the sit-in movement, which started August 19th, 1958. But our purpose today shall be to bring about a better understanding of the sit-in movement and how you can be involved. So many times we hear people saying, oh, if I had been there, what I would have done. Well, you're here now, and let's see what you're going to do. Clara Luper reporting. Mr. Robert Gates, your barber. A young man that participated in the sit-ins in a unique way. His money talked. His barbershop became a headquarters. All his prayers and his songs, all part of the sit-in movement. Mr. Robert Gates, the owner of Gates Barber Shop, located at 2609 North Martin Luther King. And you can go there at 9. You can get the type of haircut that will prepare you for the great month of August. What kind of haircut do you want? If it's a old-fashioned one, he can give you one. If it's a today's haircut, he can do it. And if you want a haircut for the future, he can do it. All I want you to do is to go to Gates Barbershop. I want you to enjoy the beauty of that shop. I want you to look at the pictures on the wall. I want you to enjoy the flowers as you walk in. And I want you to join me in saying, thank you, Mr. Gates, because not only do you make people beautiful, you have made your barbershop one of the most beautiful barbershops in the state of Oklahoma. That's Gates Barbershop, located at 2609 North Martin Luther King in Oklahoma City. When you start thinking about groceries in the weekend, I want you to think about Hometown, located at 2001 Northeast 23rd Street in Oklahoma City. Open 24 hours for your convenience. That's Hometown, 2001 Northeast 23rd Street. Dr. A.L. Dow understood the sit-ins. He understood the vision of the sit-ins. He understood the role that he and his lovely wife and family had to play in the sit-ins. And certainly he is joining us in celebrating the anniversary of the sit-in movement. Dr. A.L. Dow, our optometrist, is located at 9934 Northeast 8th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The telephone number for Dr. A.L. Dow is 235-0536. Now, you will have to call Dr. Dow for an appointment. You just can't just walk in. And even if you walk in, Dr. A.L. Dow will find some way to take care of you. But I want you to call Dr. A.L. Dow and tell him that you want him to examine your eyes. That's 235-0536. Dr. A.L. Dow, 934 Northeast 8th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Johnson Sardinas is part of the celebration, and I'll be telling you more about that later. 1643 Northeast 50th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The telephone number is 424-4656. That's once again Johnson Sardinas, located at 1643 Northeast 50th Street in Oklahoma City. The telephone number is 424-4656. 424-4656. Now, Johnson Sardinas, number 2, is located at 2611 North Martin Luther King. Our telephone number is 427-5274. Mrs. Gloria Matthews and Mr. Paul Matthews are happy to join in celebrating the beginning of the sit-in movement. Someone called and wanted to know why we celebrating the sit-in movement. Why do we celebrate the 4th of July? You answer that. The 4th of July, when Thomas Jefferson, the slave owner, declared that all men are created equal, but it excluded black men. As we think about August, I want you to think about the homeland, Africa. Therefore, if you must think about where you can buy your African clothes, you want to know where you can buy some African painting, sculpture, art, food, go to Gideon's 300 store, located at 6006 South Western in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Gideon 300 store, 6006 South Western in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. They have a special sale on, and go there and take advantage of the sales that are available to you. Don't forget, Marilyn is in her office. You may call 843-0811. You don't have to be without insurance. All you have to do is to call Marilyn, 843 0811. How do you go about understanding the sit-ins? How do you go about understanding the visions of the people that participated in the sit-ins? Well, what you have to do is to turn the pages of history and talk to some of the people that remember. And unless you remember your history, you become a victim of your history. Mrs. Ira Holmes, hello?
Hello.
This is Clara Luper, and today our whole program is to give the people a better understanding of the sit-in movement. Now, you were here before the sit-ins. Tell me, how was it before the sit-ins?
Oh, it was Clara. It was tough. Nobody has the idea of the things that we had to go through before you started the sit-in. I started with the civil rights movement way back in the early 30s, so you know about what had happened back in those days. But I had said I was going to talk to you one day and tell you that long before you started this national sit-in, I had been sitting in all by myself.
Great, great. Tell me more.
And first thing, you know, I like to fish. And I thought one day I would love to go to Lake Texahoma and fish. I knew some friends in Texas, and they said, oh, we fish in Texahoma all the time. I said, well, why don't you meet with me one day? And we will fish over on the Oklahoma City side. And they said, okay. I got in my car, drove to Lake Texahoma, Clara, drove into the parking lot, and a great big robusted policeman came to me and said, I began to open up my trunk and put my junk out. He says, good morning, where do you think you're going? I said, oh, I'm going to fish out here on the marina in the marina. He says, what marina? I said, right here. He says, I would advise you to put your stuff back in your car, get out of this parking lot. You're not supposed to fish on this side of Lake Texahoma. I said, well, I live on this side. I pay taxes on this side. He said, I don't care what you do. And, you know, I just kept moving my junk, and I looked up at him, and he had such an expression on his face. And the thought came to me, now, you by yourself. You better do what he say do. And put your junk back in your car and do what he said. He said, you back out here, make a left turn, get on that highway, and you go south for about a mile. You make another turn, and you will come into a little town called White Wright, Texas. I did that, but I was so disgusted I didn't know what to do, and I was by myself. I met the Texas people on that side way late. I had to go up there and park by myself. They came in. I said, well, where are we going to fish? He says, in the river. I said, well, that's what the man on the Oklahoma side told me. I thought you all fished in the big lake. He says, oh, no, we can't fish in that either. Clara, I was hurt. You will never know. And by being alone, we fished in the river because that was the only place we could fish. We caught fish. We ran out of food. Someone suggested that up on the hill there's 4 little kitchens I call hot kitchens, like we go to McDonald's and the Skillet and all those places. I call them hot kitchens. That was just my name for them because I knew you could go there and get hot hamburgers and hot dogs. There were 4 of them up there. We went to all 4. Couldn't get nothing.
And they would not serve you?
They wouldn't serve me. The first lady says, not knowing that they wouldn't serve us, I said, we want 6 hamburgers, 6 bags of potato chips, 6 candy bars, 6 Cokes, and whatever else that you pick up at a place like that to go fish. She stood and looked at me, and she finally says, we don't serve in hamburgers. I said, lady, I didn't ask for an in hamburger. I asked for a hamburger. She said, well, I won't serve you. We tried all three of them. They had a different story. The last lady says, take your car and drive it around to the back door, and I'll have all this food prepared for you. By then, I was up to my nose with all of this, and I said very politely, lady, let me tell you something. I have been segregated all my life, but this is the first time I've ever heard anybody tell me to take a car to the back door, and the car's got to be segregated. I never heard of it in my life, and I walked away. But Clara, the people here in Oklahoma don't know what a deal you have done. Later on, it came. I knew something would have to develop from this. And then the next hard thing that I witnessed when I was a child, strikes were very heavy around Oklahoma in big companies. Wilson Company had a strike, and early one morning they'd been looking for a guy who was going to break the strike and go into the place and work. Bee and I heard, and Bee was my other sister, we heard Mom and Papa talking, and I heard Papa say, don't wake the kids up until somebody cuts this man down. They had found that man that night sometime, and they put a rope around his neck and hung him up on a tree. At that point, we were living in what we call West Town. Across the river was called the Cutoff. I don't know, you might have been too young to even know that. But when Papa and Mama left the door, Bee and I snuck out of the bed, and we found out that there was a body hanging right in front of our house. That was down at Old Toland Park here on Reno, which was called the Cutoff. I had never witnessed anything like that. I was happy to know Mrs. McKay and her husband, Editor Roscoe Dungy. I was happy to know all of those people. And I went to Editor Dungy's office, and I began to tell him this story. He says, well, that's all right, Holmes. Just give me a little time, and I'm going to write it up. He says, and I have another article I'm going to write. I'm going to stop our newspapers from talking about the end on the chain gang in the pens. He did that. Tinkerfield came to Oklahoma, and it was just the goodness of a white lady, friend that I had met, and her husband, who got to be the manager of the hiring of blacks in Oklahoma City. You didn't have to go to Tinker to do it because you never got in out there. He told his wife, he said, tell Ira to come by my office. I've got some news for her. He knew what I'd been doing because they had worked with us and Editor Dungy and A.L. McKay and George Ragland and all that bunch, Jimmy Stewart. So he says, Ira, they're hiring black women at Tinker. You're an inventory clerk, and this is what they're doing. But let me tell you this, they're not going to hire you if you go out there looking for an inventory clerk. You go and get an application and make it out for a janitress. You will sweep in one of the warehouses, but it's an office there and it's very small. But if you take that job, you're inside Tinker. If you get in, an application is going to come forward that says Negro women for inventory clerks. Come by my office and get a blank, fill it out, and turn it in.
Uh,
If you pass
did you
that examination,
did you get the job?
yeah, got the job.
So, in other words, and I'm going to have to go, you're saying that it was dark for blacks in Oklahoma.
Oh, very dark, Clara. Very dark.
Well, then you understood the city. And thank you so very kindly for being my very distinguished guest today.
Right. They don't know what it's all about.
But we will tell them. That's our job, to inform them in
Right.
order that we can move ahead.
And what you have to do in order to get them, this is the thing. You can't be hostile. I found that out. You have to let them know that you know that they're doing you an unjust.
Okay. Well, thank you so very kindly. We've just talked to Ira Holmes, a pioneer in civil rights. Jim Crow eating and sleeping in restrooms have had a long history in Oklahoma and in America. Blacks had attacked these situations, which in some states were by law and others by custom and tradition. Businessmen had stereotyped unfounded fears of business losses, improper odors. Segregation in public accommodation was too hot for politicians. Why commit to political suicide? Traveling by blacks was indeed a headache. If blacks traveled, they would have to carry their lunches, buy cold snacks at grocery stores, find all black restaurants if there happened to be any, or eat in the back of a white restaurant if they could find one that would serve them any, even in the back. Many stories have been told about traveling experiences. Reverend Earl Jennings Perry, the pastor of Tabernacle Baptist Church, told me that he, along with J.W. Sanford, president of Langston University, George Ragland, Roscoe Dungy, and O.M. Simmons, was going to Texas, and they decided to stop at the southern part of Oklahoma where they were refused service. He talked about Jim Crow and how they felt about it. But today, we want you to understand, you, the people in Oklahoma now, that are enjoying the sweats, the tears of these people. We want you to understand clearly that it was not always that way. Somebody had to make a sacrifice. And so it was. On August the 19th, 1958, that a group of young people, 13 of them, led by Gwendolyn Fuller and Barbara Posey, went to Cat's Drug Store and started what became known as the sit-ins. Oklahoma owes so much to Richard Brown, Elmer Edwards, Linda Pogue, Lana Pogue, Arita Tolliver, Elmer Edwards, Calvin Luper, Marilyn Luper, Portwood Williams, Lynzetta Jones, Gwendolyn Fuller, Alma Faye Posey, Barbara Posey, Golda Battle, and Betty Germany, who went to Cat's Drug Store. But now we are getting ready to celebrate. We will celebrate the beginning of the sit-in movement. We call it the Freedom Fiesta. And I want you to write this down. The Freedom Fiesta, which will start on Sunday, June the 18th, and that is known as Doc Williams Day. Mrs. Bosie Walker? Hello?
How are you, Mrs. Luper?
Mrs. Walker, I'm fine today because I'm talking, and my purpose today is to give people a better understanding of the sit-in movement and what it meant. I understand that you're in charge of Doc Williams Day. First,
Yes.
Tell me a bit about Doc Williams as you knew him.
Doc Williams was a member of Quail United Methodist Church. He was a trustee. He did not only support the church by coming, he paid his way. He was an active member. He was a member of the Methodist Men as well as a trustee. His wife was a member of the missionary group and very active in other activities of the church like the Sunday school. And I would just like to say that I concur with Mrs. Holmes. It was dark back in the days before the sit-in movement. You didn't try on hats. You didn't try on shoes unless you went to the basement, and if you were hungry, you didn't eat downtown. And if you wanted to go to the bathroom, you had to go to the bus station. So I know all about segregation in Oklahoma City, and I've lumbered all the way to the back of the bus a many days because I didn't have a car. I would just like to say the Freedom Fiesta, everybody that is in Oklahoma City should be able to celebrate with us from Sunday, August the 16th, down through the 22nd, and we'll be looking forward to many of the old bondsmen that knew Doc Williams to come out Sunday evening at 4 o'clock at Quail United Methodist Church on 50th and Everett, right up the hill from Sleepy Hollow. I know all of you know where that's located. And we'll be waiting for you, and not only be present, but we are always working with young people. They are underprivileged as well as privileged kids. And we take them on many trips their parents are not able to pay, but they never fail to go and participate. We are looking forward to all those that worked with Doc Williams and knew him on 2nd and Central, where his office was located. He had rent houses. They rented from him, so they know him as a realtor as well as a bondsman and a friend and a church member. I'm asking all the Quail people to support that day as well as all the rest of the week, because we need your support in celebrating the Freedom Fiesta Week activities. You'll be able to meet with the counselors that work with your children here in the city. And we don't discriminate. We have all children, any color, form, or fashion. We work with them, and we always have time to try to teach them the right way.
Mrs. Walker, so many times people don't understand the difference between the NACP Youth Council in Oklahoma City and in other places. They don't realize that the Oklahoma City NACP Youth Council is the only youth council in the United States that has a building.
That's right.
And have to take on the responsibilities of the utilities, the upkeep of that building. And that's good because we meet every Monday night, and most of the NACP youth councils meet once a month in various churches and other places. And
I would just like to say, if you don't believe it and you're free Monday evening at 7, we'll be glad to have you to come by and witness our meeting and be a part of it. And we do have obligations to meet. We have utilities, the upkeep of the building, and also the yard. We have that beautiful wall of our pioneers that help bring about the freedom of this city. And I know everybody, young and old, would like to be a part of the week of August the 16th through August the 22nd.
Let's go back over on August 16th. That's Doc Williams Day, and Mrs. Bosie Walker is in charge of that day. And
that's right.
Your meeting will be held at what time?
4 o'clock Sunday evening with the pastor from Friendship Baptist Church, Reverend Wayne Wyatt. We will have 2 or 3 choirs. We'll have our choir, the best this side of heaven.
Okay, now watch out. I'm from 5th Street now. And you Methodists, especially you United Methodists.
Okay. And we will be looking forward to the bondsmen of this city, Fisher, Parks, Johnson, and Eddie Stamps, and all the trustees of Quail to support us, and all those that were pioneers back in the days when we could not sit any place on the bus unless you lumber back to the back and stand up if the seats were full.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker, and certainly you've given us an understanding of Doc Williams Day, which is August 16th, 1998, and that's at 4 o'clock. The public is invited.
Thank you.
Thank you. Understanding the sit-ins, the vision, lest we forget. It's our job to remind you 30 years have been removed from that scene. But do we really understand the pain, the tears, and the sufferings of the sit-inners? We have to remember. Unless we remember the vision of those people, we will not be able to keep the vision or understand. All right, on Monday, August the 17th, that's John E. Green's Day. Calvin, what about John E. Green and what he did? Miss Wilma Ray is in charge of that day, and that's the day of NACP Membership Day.
Mom, well, first of all, let me say good morning to you. Sit-Inners Day, and as you said, Mrs. Matthews has gigantic plans for the sit-inners, and that is a special day because the sit-inners that you named off, Merlin, Betty, Richard, and the others, we will be celebrating in under Mrs. Matthews' direction in a very special way. Now, as sit-inners, original sit-inners, I think we all just happen to be there. You know, history has a funny way of making things happen, and we were there at the right place at the right time, doing something that we never dreamt would evolve into anything called a sit-in movement.
But it's interesting, Calvin. Elma Edwards will be flying in from California to help celebrate that day. And don't forget the Minutemen.
The Minutemen, all of that came out of that one fateful August night when we decided there in a meeting, and it's described to the T there in your book, Behold the Wall, on what happened at that NACP meeting before the Freedom Center, before any meeting place, because I think we were there on the porch in 1819 Northeast Park. But we were a group of young people that knew that there was a problem, didn't know how to attack it, and had been fortunate enough, thanks to the community, to have gone to New York City to an NACP convention and had gotten inspired. That's all it is to it, and I think that's what the convention does. And we made a promise on our way back that somehow or other we would do what we could to break down that evil wall of segregation that existed in our home city and our home state.
I understand that on the sit-inners day there will be some candles that will be burning in memory of some of our sit-inners that rest now in yonder's grave. Who were some of the Minutemen that we have lost during these years?
Oh, Mom, one of the most recent that I can think of is a good friend, and I don't think the word has gotten out. Dickie Jones just recently passed. I can think of Mickey Edwards, Mickey Anderson. There have been quite a few. Big Bud Barnett, just a few of the original ones. But there will be a listing of all that.
And we will burn candles in their memories.
And that candle will be significant because their memories and the dedication that they had to, they had to talk to their parents. They had to talk with their friends and their family to be able to be involved in the movement. But they were dedicated, and it meant something. It means something to know that you're making a positive step in the community. But, Mom, we can get back to that because I know Mrs. Matthews wants to tell us a little more about what's going to be on that special sit-inners day. But we have a caller here on the line. I'm not sure who this is, but I know that they're ready to talk with us. Good morning. How are you doing this beautiful morning? Are they still there, Phil?
Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
Miss Luper?
Yes?
It's Mrs. Holmes.
This is Ira.
Yes.
I was going to have to go, but I wanted to say this before I got off there and you got off. The people in Oklahoma City really don't know exactly what we have had or what we have now in Clara Luper and Clara Luper's family. You have struggled and struggled and struggled with adults in this town practically all my life. And I'm talking about from the beginning that I started to where you are now. And you have brought us thus far. And I want you to know how much we appreciate you. There is still a lot of people here in Oklahoma City who appreciate you, Clara, for doing these things. But there's still a lot of people here in this city who, as you say, don't know the facts, don't know the history. But when you learn how it started, when it started, and all of these things, you're going to learn to appreciate the civil rights movement under Clara Luper and her youngsters and these older ones who did it long before you were even born, Clara.
Well, thank you.
I love you for all of the work that you have done. Call me anytime. You know I'm there.
Thank you, darling.
Mom, you know one thing that that has to be mentioned. Mrs. Holmes is right. You know, the whole city, we all are deeply indebted to you. And I know you
We'll
say,
see. We'll see.
I know
We'll
what you
see.
say during your
Okay.
speeches and what you say
Give
all
me
the
my
time.
flowers while
Give me
I
my
live.
flowers while
That's
you
right.
live, and also how the head youth advisor. But you know, Mrs. Holmes is the mother of the first black fire chief that we ever had in Oklahoma,
And
and
well,
I
a
think
mother
that
to a lot of us too.
yeah, it's
Calvin,
very
let's go
special.
on. We got to go through here because if I don't get
Okay.
Thursday,
We're ready for Thursday. Now, what will be
Thursday
happening
is a
Thursday?
President's Day. That's the day the young people plan what they want to do on Thursday, and we want you to come by and look at all of the past presidents of the NACP Youth Council. It is quite interesting. But let's get to Friday.
What time will that be Thursday? That celebration
They will
starts?
be all day Thursday.
All
They will
day
be
Thursday.
celebrating the past presidents of the
Okay.
NACP.
Now we're Friday. Now let's on Friday of Freedom Fiesta Week. That's a very
That's
special
Letty
time.
Ruth Hunter,
Letty Ruth Hunter,
Nancy Davis,
Nancy Davis,
and Lillian Oliver's
and
Day.
Lillian Oliver's Day. Now what will be happening on that day?
Well,
Mom?
let's look back at those people that worked so hard in the city inners. Let the public know that it was Lillian Oliver that played a leading role in the sit-in movement. It was a Lillian Oliver that dreamed and had a vision of a better day. Talk to Lillian a few minutes, and she will tell you at that time what she wanted to see. She wanted to see young blacks go places that she had never been and see things that she has never seen. Although Lillian Oliver sleeps in yonder's grave, Nancy Davis and Letty Ruth Hunter carry on each year with a fashion show because they remember how the three of them got together and decided they would have a fashion show on Friday night. And certainly I'm sure we are going to hear from Nancy or Lillian today. Yes.
No, Mom. We're going to hear from Mrs. Letty Ruth Hunter because she's on the line now. I know you're trying to explain what will be happening that Friday.
No, I wasn't
But
trying to explain. I
nobody
wanted the
can
people
do
to
it.
understand the vision and the dreams of those. Letty?
Yes, Mrs. Luper, hello to you and all the radio audience.
Yes.
Now, usually on Friday, we have a fashion show and the coronation of our queen and king. So this is an outstanding program, and we have the young people who will come and show all the young people what they're going to be wearing this fall, because the style has changed again, and it is a little different. And I'm finding out that we're going to be wearing long skirts again. Now, if you're ready for them, or you're not ready for them, but this is the style. So come on out and see what the young people are going to show you what they will be wearing this fall to school. And we will have our coronation as usual. So we're inviting everyone out, and we are having some special entertainment that I'm going to be talking about between now and August the 21st, that you're going to really be interesting. It's going to be interesting, and you're going to really miss a treat if you don't come out and see the young people that we are bringing to have part in our fashion show. They will be doing some special productions.
Are you allowing old folks to participate and middle-aged folks or just young folks in your fashion show?
Well, we allow everyone who would like to participate in the fashion show. We do not discriminate. We take them from ages 2 to 200. So if you're in age between 2 and 200, come on and be a part of our fashion show. But we usually specialize in youth, and we use the youth because we work with the youth there on Monday nights.
Okay, now what would be different about the 1998 fashion show?
As I told you, the thing that's going to be different is the new styles that's coming out. That will be the different thing because style is different this year. Then we have some entertainment, and it's a religious entertainment, and this is something that's different and is catching on all across the country because youth are really dramatizing religious songs that get you closer and closer into the religious mood of songs through dance. And
Well-
they will be doing some of those.
Well, where will the fashion show be held?
We keep our fashion show at the Freedom Center. That's in order to bring people to the Freedom Center who have never been there. You'd be surprised at the people that's right in the vicinity of the Freedom Center has never been there to see it. So we try to have it there so that we can bring people in to not only to see the walls of the Freedom Center, but to go inside and see what the young people
have done and what they are doing during the year. So it will be at the Freedom Center, and that's at 2609 Martin Luther King.
Thank you so very kindly,
And it
Letty.
is August, and I want everybody to remember that it is August the 16th and not July the 16th.
Okay, now your fashion show will be on August the 21st. Okay, how would you
Right.
go about running for king or queen of the
We
Freedom
will be,
Fest?
what we do, we'll be having some tickets, and we're really asking you to vote for a king or a queen.
Okay.
So we'll have several children, young girls and young boys, running for queens and kings, and we're only asking you out there to support them by voting for them.
Well, thank you so very kindly. But Calvin, Saturday.
Saturday, I know one thing about Saturdays. I know at 9 a.m. on this radio station, 1220 a.m. KTLV, that we will be having the Clara Luper radio show on that Saturday, and that will start at 9 and go to 10. But I'm certain that there are more activities that will happen.
Let's explain what Clara Luper means.
The
Let's
Clara Luper
explain
radio
it because
show.
the people got to understand. Clara Luper's Day symbolizes all people that participated in the sit-ins. It makes no difference whether you marched. It makes no difference whether you went to jail. It makes no difference whether you didn't give a penny but you prayed. Whatever you did, that's your day. That's Clara Luper's Day, and Clara Luper's name is only a name that symbolized everybody that participated in the sit-in movement.
Now that is the reasoning for the day, and there will be different types of celebration. Now, what will be happening on Clara Luper's Day?
Well, that would be a parade.
Well, we know at 9 a.m. we have the radio show.
And at 11 o'clock we
11
have
a.m.
a parade.
A parade.
And we need somebody, any of you that would like to be in the parade, all you got to do is to call Youth Council 424-2384, or call me 424-3949, or call Mr. Gates, call Mrs. Walker, call Mrs. Hunter, call Mrs. Matthews, call Miss Ford.
What do you have to do to be in the parade? Just
all you have to do is
be
just say you want to be in the parade. Okay. Now, sometimes we have large numbers and sometimes we just have a few. But it doesn't make any difference because we know enough about history to know that during the sit-in movement, sometimes we had a lot of people. Then again, there was that little Sally Harris. There was just a few of us. Lana Pogue and Gwendolyn Fuller. But then there were other days when we had a large crowd. It didn't make any difference. But it does make a difference with you, whether you will participate in the parade.
Okay, now the parade will be at 11 o'clock. Where will it start? It
will start as usual at the Pitts Park, and that Pitts named in honor of one of our great heroes. But then, Calvin, and people will be open house at Freedom Center, and you can come up there with all of your ideas and with all of your help. But the highlights will be the Clara Luper's Freedom Fiesta Dinner.
The Freedom Fiesta Dinner. Now,
yes,
I know last year that was a fantastic affair, but what will it be this year?
This year, we are bringing back to Oklahoma City one of the most beautiful leaders that we have ever had. A young girl who stood tall and spoke for freedom, Barbara Posey, who is now Dr. Barbara Posey Jones, who is a dean of the business department of Alabama A&M University. Barbara Posey is coming home, and we want you to welcome Barbara Posey home. Aren't you proud that Barbara Posey, who spoke for the Youth Council for years, you remember her. You remember her in Jet Magazine and Life Magazine. You remember Barbara Posey in all the newspapers. You remember her. But today, she is a dean at Alabama A&M, and she's coming home. My child is coming home. Barbara Posey will be home to speak. Now, I know many of you can hardly wait. You can hardly wait because that will be a program. It will be a day's end this year. And I know you will want to be there. Johnny Green will be the MC. The lovely Miss Black, Oklahoma, Kelly Lambert will be singing. And you haven't heard anything until you hear the 1998 versions of the sit-ins. But Barbara Posey Jones is coming home. Let's just call her Barbara Posey is
President
coming
Barbara
home.
Posey.
President is coming home to speak.
Mom, you know, we were talking about that Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the Clara Luper radio show, and at 11 a.m. is the big parade. On the line, we have the young man that will be coordinating, helping to coordinate the parade this year, and that's none other than the youth council advisor named Berlin Nero.
Oh,
Mr.
Berlin
Nero,
Nero.
how are you doing this beautiful morning? And welcome once again to the Clara Luper radio show, live in living color here on KTLV 1220 on your AM dial.
Good morning. How's everyone this morning, Ms. Luper?
I'm fine. Aren't you excited to be the head of the 1998 parade?
Oh, yes, and it's going to be more and bigger and exciting than it was last year.
Oh, great,
Yes,
great.
we have so many plans. I have so many invitations that want to be in. The guys want to be in with their automobiles and with their horses and their bikes, and so it's going to be a really wonderful time Saturday. So we're really going to get this going with a big bang, and I'm really excited to hear Miss Posey coming home, and we're going to have a wonderful time on Clara Luper's Day.
All right. Now, is it true that you will have a section in the parade for those people that will drive in different kinds of cars?
Right.
You can line up the Chevys, the Fords, the Mercedes, the Buicks, the Cadillacs, the bicycles. Everybody can participate.
Everybody can participate.
Okay, now let's talk about that Clara Luper's dinner. Now, that dinner is used to finance the programs at Freedom Center, the Black History Monument, the Black History Wall, and all of that. And the tickets are, guess what? The same as they were last
Same as it
year.
was last year.
That means that anybody want to sit in a silver seat will pay $25.
Right.
Those that want to sit in the gold seat will pay $50, and those in the diamond seat will be $100.
$100.
Where will you be sitting, Mr.
I
Berlin?
got a $100 seat.
All right.
I'm a
Well, not
diamond.
only you, but I'm sure all of our friends will want to be there because they don't want to be like somebody was singing. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? And somebody else said, yes. If you had been there, you'd been sitting at home looking at television, wondering what's going to happen.
That's correct. That is correct.
Well, there are some things we know. We know everybody loves Clara Luper because I asked everybody that hated me to send me $1, and I didn't get one. I didn't get $1. Now your tickets are available. You may pick up your tickets at Freedom Center, 2609 North Martin Luther King, or at Gates Barbershop. But most of all, call Clara Luper. Call me out here and tell me where you're going to be sitting this year for freedom. Will you be sitting in a $25 seat,
That's the gold
$50
seat, right?
No, that's
the silver seat.
That's a silver seat.
And the $50 seat is the gold seat, and the $100 seat is the diamond seat.
Calvin Luper, where will you be sitting?
Well, I'll be in the area. It sound like I'm
Sound like what?
I'm a
Sound
diamond,
like
but
what?
I may be in the silver seat, but I'm more than likely
Okay,
my
well,
pocket
maybe.
today says gold, but I'm looking forward to working back up to the diamond where I belong.
Well, I know one thing.
Believe
I
that.
know one lady who came over to my house and said, I want to be in one of those gold seats, and I'm telling you, she's going to take her seat. I'm going to tell you more about her next week. This
Well,
is business.
Thank
And
you,
unless
Berlin, so much for calling in and reminding us about the parade and how to contact you and to be involved in the parade. All right?
Okay, he didn't tell us how to contact you. If people want to be in the parade, what is your telephone
Oh,
number?
my telephone number is 737-4402.
737-4402.
Call.
Yes, it's sit-in time.
Sit-in.
Clara Luper's Day. Oh, my gracious.
Right.
And you're talking about a day. That's going to be a day. And I'm calling on all of my friends to get ready. Let's do it. We don't have too many tickets because some of you have been there all of the year. Last year you had Dr. Clark. But this year, guess who our speaker will be?
Barbara Posey.
Barbara Posey Jones. Now let's call
Professor.
her Dr.
Doctor.
Barbara Posey Jones, the dean at Alabama A&M University.
Well, Mom, you know, we've gone through the Freedom Fiesta week there, and we've gone through all 7 days of it, and it's been a great time. But, you know, let me get this out right quick, and then we'll go to the last part of the program because it's very short this week. You know, the Weekend Singers.
Oh,
were-
just a minute. I'm not going to let
You're
you
not
do
gonna let-
Weekend Singers until I
Till
thank
you finish with
everybody.
whatever. Okay, well, let
I
me
would
tell
like
you,
to
though, there's
thank
something good coming up.
everybody. And I would like, today I speak on behalf of the Alpha Omega Wilson family, a family that lost their mother and grandmother who was 101 years old. And the family would like to thank all of you They would like to express their warmest and sincere gratitude for the many acts of kindness shown this time of bereavement. And today I speak for the Walzell Thomas Hall Sr. family. That family wishes to express their deep appreciation and thanks for the outpouring of love and support you've shown. May God bless and keep each one of you. Well, Calvin, I tell you, we can't sing us. It's your time now.
Right.
And you better get ready to sing happy birthday to the sit-inners. No, don't sing it
No,
now.
not yet.
Wait
We have to
later.
say that.
Barbara Posey is coming home.
Barbara Posey is coming home.
I know
Barbara
Fifth Street
And
Church
this
will
is
be
a
proud.
very special weekend, too, because the Douglas High School class of 60 is having their 38th reunion, and it's a lot of people in town for that. But then, you know, last week we talked with Overton Brooks, and he told us about his dancing donkey. Today is the dancing donkey's birthday, and I have to sing this to it and to send the tape down there so the donkey can hear it before it comes to Arcadia, Oklahoma, and be a part of that great Arcadia rodeo that's coming up Memorial Day. But Dancing Dan, the dancing donkey, this is to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Dancing Dan. And may you have many, many more.
Before I leave the air, I would like to give you a bit of sad news. Many of you know Mildred Burrell in Oklahoma City, who's a member of the Fifth Street Baptist Church, but her daughter, Manice Miller, is in very critical condition. In fact, she's in intensive care at the Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas. I just finished talking to Mildred early this morning, and she asked me to ask her friends in Oklahoma City to remember that family in their prayers. I would like to thank God for the opportunity once again to talk to each one of you. I hope today you've gotten a better understanding of the sit-ins and the vision, because our dream was that our young people would go places we have never been and see things that we have never seen. And therefore we call upon the young people to take the torch and let's carry it on together. And from Calvin Luper.
From Calvin, myself.
From Clara Luper.
From the NACP Youth Council, we want you to work with us during the Freedom Fiesta Week.
And remember, I'm counting on you to reserve your seat in the $50, $25, or $100, because we are going to help the NACP Youth Council move on to victory. And until next Saturday at the same time, this is Clara Luper say, pick up a copy of Town Talk and read about Fifth Street Baptist Church. Bye-bye. I do love you.
Every one of you for tuning in to the Clara Luper Show. Join Sister Clara Luper here each and every Saturday from 9 until 10 at your number one gospel station, KTLV. And until next Saturday, may God bless you.
Come on, Jesus. Come on, Jesus. Oh, Lord. Father, I need your helping hand. Come on, Jesus.
This is AM 1220, KTLV.
Views expressed and the products endorsed of this program are not endorsed by KTLV.
Midwest City, Oklahoma City.